Hey, all right, here we go. Yeah, all right. Hey, I got nothing left to say. I gotta come up with a new shtick for the intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to, I don't know, this is like an in-between episode. This isn't really a growth episode. It's not officially a Learn It Live episode, but it's a Thursday, so I think it falls in a Learn It Live, and we're gonna learn a lot about what is and what is not possible with Webflow today. So, Joe, what's up? How you feeling today?
Feeling really good. This show is a last-minute inspiration. And it feels good. I really want to know what everybody has to ask about this topic. Limitations in Webflow, what's possible?
Yeah.
That question, understanding that question is really valuable. So hopefully it's a good episode.
Yep, agreed. Let's see. Let's do a couple little quick ditties. Let's cut this off. Okay, we published the highlights from the open house last week. So let's take a look at that. Let's go full screen on this thing. Let's take a look at that real quick.
Even though it feels like now it's starting to come of age, it is really still the early days of the no-code community. So everyone that's here, everyone that's part of this, you are the pioneers, still like trying to figure out the boundaries and push the boundaries.
The only way to create something positive is to share it with the next person and the next person, and you get something back when you share.
We really, really believe that without this community, the power of visual development, the power of no code is only going to be like a tenth of what it can be.
It's great to just be roaming around and hopping into different rooms and seeing what people are talking about.
I feel like I just took like another step into this amazing world.
It really is the closest thing for a conference that I had virtually.
The concept of a metaverse space where you can actually connect with people synchronously, that increases the probability and the ability for you to build a relationship.
I think it, comes down to, the tools are going to get better and better, but eventually it's about, how you use them and the story you're telling, and that's how you connect.
Through this event itself, Raymmar, what you guys are doing and what we do and what I do, all of us, what we're trying to do here is to build the on-ramp for the next billion people who have never heard of no code, but could be beneficiaries of no code.
So let's
thank you very much for the...
Let's just go ahead and drop that in the background. Y'all can watch that. The highlights on YouTube. This was a friggin-tastic event. We're going to share this. Go ahead. I'm going to copy this and share this into the chat right here. If anybody want to watch that full video, go ahead and leave a like, leave a comment. If you were at the open house, super exciting event. It was a total blast. Yeah, I can't believe, what was it saying? Joel Whitaker is saying, can't believe, how's it been a week since the open house? So it has, let's see. Okay, Geronimo's saying, hey, Raymmar, you said to mention our LinkedIn chat. So welcome to the live stream, Geronimo. That's how we do it. Welcome to the live audience here. Let's see, we did launch something at the open house that's kind of been percolating, and it looks like we lost Joe there in the background, so hopefully he'll jump back in here in a second. But we did launch our pro tier memberships. That's really in the early stages of what we're doing with that, so keep up with us. And you should have access to your dashboard now. People are getting into Slack. We've got conversations brewing in Slack. And so anyway, just remember that lifetime plan is active for $299 until the end of May. And then it's going to jump. Actually, that'll disappear. And this $79 will actually go up to $99. So anyway, okay, that's what we got. It looks like Joe is still missing. So anyway, let's say what's up to those who are in the comments today. Let's give Joe just a little bit of time to show back up here. Hello, everyone. What's up, Paul? What's up, Mark? What's up, Dale Jensen? What's up, Mark? Love it. Let's see. Eric Freeland in the house. Rahendra, Oren. What's up? Daniel, Aida, Christopher Coleman. What's up? Hello to Net. Eric McQuestion, Jeremy's here. What's up, Jeremy? Max R in the house. Our meme master extraordinaire. Papi chulo. Yeah, that's where we go. We're just stalling a little bit to give Joe some time to get back in here. So what's up, everyone? Geronimo in the house. Omkar is here. John is here. Dang, lots of y'all saying hi today. Dave, what's up? Veos, Armando, Penny, what's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, we got Greek happening in the comments and everything. All right. I don't know where Joe is, but let's jump into some Q&A. We're going to jump into talking just a little bit about what's possible with Webflow. We're going to talk about different use cases. We're going to talk about what you can build, what you can't build. But go ahead and share your experience in the comments about what you think is possible in Webflow. Right? What have you built? What's the craziest use case? Are you building membership sites? Are you building e-commerce stores yet with Webflow? Are you building like, I don't know, marketplaces? What unique things are you doing with Webflow? And then also, where are you running into trouble with Webflow? That's where we want to jump in today. We want to answer questions about just unique things you can do about Webflow. So what's up? Let's see. Joshua Fry saying, had to hit up the deal. You know, Finsweet's going to deliver for sure. May take us just a day or two to get everything figured out, but yeah, there we go. Supercharged Studio, saw the red dot in the extension. Yep, there we go. Akshay, finally seeing you live. Welcome. Let's see. Was your hat made in Webflow? The hat was not made in Webflow. That's funny. Okay. Can we build Web3 stuff like connecting wallet on Webflow? That's a good question. We have not done any of that yet. So I do not know what's possible easily with Web3 in Webflow just yet. But let me see if I can connect with Joe here in chat and see any update. Oh, there he is. It looks like he's coming back in right now. So I'm going to copy this link. Let's see if we can get him right back into the show, y'all. Okay, just one more second there. Let's see. Joshua Fry, new logo. I did a clonable for this. Not sure what that means. Just give us one more minute here. We're trying to get Joe back into the stream. Power at my house went out. Okay, I see what's happening. So you're flying solo. Okay, so maybe pivot here then. I guess Eric McQuestion saying, I built a marketplace in Webflow and was surprised at how much I could accomplish with all the other no-code integrations. Okay. Joe is saying power at my house went out. 100% in the dark. Nice. Okay. So it looks like we will not have Joe on the stream today. I'm wondering if we could just do like we can just do a general Q&A. I can sit up here and riff for a little bit with y'all folks. Joe can chime in the comments where possible. So maybe we just do this. Mark Burleson saying we're using Unity, WebGL, and Webflow and looking for any other good examples out there. Okay. Joshua Fry, if anybody knows Unity, WebGL, I don't know. That's out of my range. So let's see. Joshua Fry saying, I've seen people integrate wallet connectivity, not a no-code solution though, that I've seen. Yeah, I've seen some stuff with MetaMask. I've heard people talking about Web3 and connecting wallets. I don't know what the complexity of that is. I'm not well versed on that. So I wonder, you can use your phone, Joe, if Joe's listening by chance. You can use your phone with the same link on OBS, and we could probably pull you in with your phone if you wanted to try that. So let's try with the phone, same link and credentials. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna hang out. Let's see, there's 57 of y'all, so we're not just gonna let this go. Let's see, Pierre is saying, I built a loyalty program for restaurants with Webflow, Airtable, and MemberStack only. I'm wondering how we could bring y'all in. Who wants to come in together and come up on stage and talk with me? We could fill the seat with somebody and gather. Let's see, Lucas is saying, yeah, but with some code inside. KKK for sure. The gods of electricity are interfering, right? Jeremy's saying memberships, logins, but with third party, low code with Firebase or no code, MemberStack, etc. Or now looking at Wiz. Wiz is a good option. If you're not familiar with Wiz, it's it's a cool tool. Sorry, I was reading ahead on the comments. Victoria is saying maybe we could use this episode to talk about how I organize events. How do I do it? We could switch to talking about some of that. I'm down to just a Q&A. Let's just go like pure Q&A at this point. I'll just ad lib, whatever y'all ask here or talk about, prompt, we'll go with it. So Victoria, if you've got a specific question about an event, is it something you want to know about the open house? We've also got a lot of people that helped organize the open house in the crowd here. So we're just going to pivot to a pure Q&A. So whatever y'all have going on, if you want to ask about the pro plan, if you want to ask about Finsweet in general. Now that Joe's not here, we can talk all about stuff that maybe he wouldn't be open to talking about. So just kidding. Let's see. John Matthias is saying, I've got a membership site going with Webflow plus MemberStack. Definitely going to be concerned with Webflow 10K limit probably in the next year. Looking for a non-CMS solution for member pages. Yeah, that's hard. I remember when we were building no-code video and we were going to use MemberStack for that, and we were going to build user accounts and let people submit videos. And one of the reasons we didn't go full steam ahead on that was because we were going to hit the 10,000 item limit with like a couple hundred users easily, assuming people were sharing, like a video a day or a couple videos a week kind of thing. And so that is a limitation of Webflow right now. There are solutions for this. You could use something like Noble Airtable to kind of feed data in. You got to get kind of creative with that because it will overwrite some of your records. So you can only have 10,000 items in Webflow at any given time in the CMS. So that creates problems. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough limitation right now because that's a hard limitation inside of Webflow. I do know that they're working on that. I know they've been talking about that for a while, along with memberships, logic, other things like that. So I don't know. Yeah, and Marcia is saying, is it possible to have more than 10,000 collection items? No, that's what we're talking about now. So there are ways to connect external databases to Webflow, but natively inside of Webflow, there's a hard limit of 10,000 items. So Maria, just listen to Vicky. Okay. Nicola Toledo, I was curious to know if a better platform than Webflow comes out in a year, would you change? If so, after how long? This is an interesting question because I think there will be lots of competition to Webflow as time goes. I do think platforms will have a hard time keeping up. And I think Joe would agree with this too. Like some of these other platforms, they just, like they're close, they're just not there yet. And Webflow has this community behind it that's just like something else. And so I don't know that anybody can catch up with them in any relative like timeline that makes good sense, right? So maybe somebody will jump in the game. Maybe Bubble's front end gets really good, but I saw what they're doing with their like Flexbox and their responsive engine and some of that, and I don't think it's I don't think it's that great, to be honest. So they've got a long way to go before they're really competing with Webflow. And I think it's going to be hard for one of these other companies to jump in and just reach the level of finesse, quality, etc. And then that assumes Webflow is going to stop evolving also, which means if somebody else is coming up, Webflow's doing more. And so I don't know. This is going to be an interesting race. Joe's back. What's up, Joe? You want to chime in on this thought?
Yeah, and also the community. That even if somebody does happen to reach the level that Webflow does, I don't think the community will be even close to what Webflow has now. So yeah, features aside, the community is just too powerful to shut down.
I agree. That's where Webflow just has a unique advantage. We've talked about this a number of times. WordPress won because of the community when they were going up against Joomla, Drupal, etc. Webflow will win this time because of this community, because of what happened at that open house last week, because of how much effort and just love is shared in this community, so much willingness to help and lift people up. That just is going to be hard to rebuild and replace. I promise you, all of these other marketing teams of these other companies that want to compete are like, how the hell do we do that? I've even talked to folks in the no-code space, and they're not even sure how Webflow's doing it. I'm not even sure Webflow knows how they're doing it. I think, it's really a testament of how good the product is, rather than like, I don't think there's any marketing gods at Webflow or any like super genius level, like we're doing this super unique. It's just the product is that good. When you give people this power, you just create super fans that go out and do all your marketing for you. And I think that's what's driving most of Webflow's growth at this point. Joe, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Paired with a great educational system in the background. That is I think, really important. If they didn't have that, I would assume that the rate of people going from 0 to Webflow user, it just decreases significantly. Some people, that's a lot of people's first path and first touch into the product and being able to use the product.
Yeah, so I take it back on my, I don't think there's any marketing gods or creative genius. The education stuff is top notch. I don't know anybody else in the space. Yeah, I agree. So I take that back. I take it back 100%. They're doing some unique stuff on the education side of things. And I know that is the first point of contact with a lot of folks. So yeah, between a great product and a great educational process, yeah, they're killing the game. So let's see. Someone just asked here, where do you find the subscription for Finsweet? Let's see, become a pro. There you go. So I just added it, and I'm going to go ahead and pin this. Okay, let's jump back into these questions here. Hans Lund is saying, in client first, do folders now take the place of sections? And is it okay to have a section inside of a section in a client first layout? I don't think we've rolled out folders, but yeah, go ahead, Joe.
We haven't rolled it out. I will answer it though. First, a section inside of a section? Not really. No, there's no intention. There's no use case I can think of where a section inside of a section makes sense. Instead, you may be doing a container inside of a section, or a container inside of a container, or a max width within a container. But no, the term section would not go inside of a section. Folders could replace your sections. Folders are going to be super, super flexible. You will be able to organize your folders based on how you want to organize your site. So they could, they couldn't. It's up to you.
Nice. Yep. Okay, Maxar, what's your favorite food? This can vary on the day. I love gyros. Honestly, like I'm a fanatic for a good gyro or good Puerto Rican food. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I don't get good Puerto Rican food very often, except for when I go visit my mama. And so anytime I can find like a good Puerto Rican restaurant or a good gyro, I'm usually like excited. Joe, what's yours?
Yeah, I would say it changes quarterly. Maybe not daily, but every quarter I got something else. I would say longest standing has got to be the hot dog, the US style hot dog.
Okay.
I've liked that from an early age. That's my go-to answer here.
Question. Like, do you have a specific brand? I like hot dogs from a cart. I don't like making hot dogs at home, but if I'm like in a city, I love to just go get a hot dog off the cart with some chili and some whatever. So I don't know. Is that what you're talking about? Or is there like a spot, or is it just like all hot dogs?
All hot dogs. It needs to be a beef hot dog. In Mexico, they do a lot of turkey hot dogs, and it just drives me nuts.
Fuck that. Fuck turkey hot dogs.
Yeah, as long as it's a good quality dog, I'm good. I don't care where it's from.
Nice. Yannick, are we going to do the quiz from the open house today? No, we will do trivia next week. We wanted to go through proper testing. We want to make sure we don't have another critical failure. So we're testing it with the full Finsweet team on Wednesday, and Thursday we're going to do we'll do a big event. So Alan Connor, what's up? Hello. Joshua Fry says, drop the spoilers. I don't know if you saw that, Joe. While you weren't here, I told everyone I was going to just spill the beans, but now that you're back, I can't we do that. So
I should drop out more often.
That's right. Tell us what's new at Finsweet. Okay, tell us about the new Finsweet website. What's cooking, Joe? Updates on that?
Yeah, we can drop a little bit of spoilers here. There is a very impressive use of Three.js on that site. We have really several highly talented people building out something that you have never, ever seen before, maybe even on the whole web. It's super awesome. So we're doing it in Webflow. It's all based in a Webflow project, but we have an infrastructure of 3D in the background.
Yeah, and I will say I wish. I keep telling Joe, like, we need to give a teaser. We need to do a little tease. Like, we should show a little bit of this thing. And Joe's like, no one sees the brand. I'm like, damn it, show them the brand. And Joe's like, nah, nobody gets to see it. And so super cool because some of y'all know we did this trip to Mexico last August. And you can tell that some of the patterns and some of the styling on the stuff you're going to see has been inspired by some of this. It's super beautiful. Yeah, and I'll keep pushing Joe to give teases, but he'll keep probably telling me no.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer.
That's right.
That's all I can say.
What's up, Peter? Let's see. Tanet's asking, how do you handle client updates for sites they don't want to do by themselves? Do you have a person that does just maintenance so other people can do development? Joe, you want to handle that?
Well, Tanet, we used to have a no maintenance policy. A maintenance was something we just never wanted to do. We do the site. Maybe we help you out if you contact us, but we're not getting into a maintenance agreement. We've completely changed that mindset in the past year, and now we have a significant part of our agency business growing in the maintenance area. So this is now something we're taking very seriously. We're actually growing and building systems around maintenance. So, Tanet, you have two options here. You can go ahead and not offer maintenance and just focus on new builds. This is great for building your portfolio. This is great for experiencing different types of clients. Or you can hire somebody to go do that maintenance. And if you have an hourly relationship with both parties, it's relatively low risk for you. You're not paying somebody a fixed amount. They get this amount hourly. The client pays this much hourly. The difference is your profit. That is what you're using as administrative fees, project management fees, sales fees. It could be good for you, but that's really up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anyone who's just joining us now, we're talking about what's possible with Webflow. We're doing kind of like a community Q&A here. Specifically, we're looking to answer questions about overcoming limitations in Webflow, complex use cases. So Joe, maybe here in a second, let's get through a couple more questions here, but maybe we can talk a little bit about some complicated things we've done at Finsweet with Webflow. Maybe some of those enterprise things, maybe how people think to look about getting around some of these limitations. Obviously, outside of the 10,000 item limit, people are asking about that. This has come up a couple times. Could you expand the 10,000 solution with Airtable? Yes, there's options for linking that. You can use Wiz. You can use, Noble, which links Airtable. But it doesn't replace that 10,000 limit. It just kind of lets you link other data into Webflow. And so you still have those limitations, which we've talked about a little bit. But Joe, maybe you have some thoughts there.
I'd love to answer on this. Sure. So yes, you can get over 10,000 items on a Webflow page with Airtable. With a lot of different platforms, you can do this. The big downside to that is it is not going to be SEO friendly. So if you have over 10,000 items and those items do not have SEO requirements, no problem. It's a relatively easy thing to do. And I say relatively because the other version is incredibly difficult. So no SEO, Airtable, no problem. If SEO is a requirement, that's where Webflow CMS shines. And that's where it's very, very difficult to break past that 10,000 limit. You would need some type of reverse proxy setup in order to serve over 10,000 items in a single project. That's how it works. So it's possible, but that setup is super, super hard. So really, the 10K limit on Webflow is pretty hard for SEO served content.
Yeah. Joe, and it may be interesting. I think we should do 2 technical deep dives. One, talking about a reverse proxy server, what it is. Let's get Alex on here. Maybe we can't explain all the nuances of it, but I think this comes up on a regular enough basis that people ask, how do you do stuff like that? How do you kind of tie these things together? So I don't know if Alex is listening or, if that's something he's be open to, but I think it would be good to do something like that. And also on this maintenance thing you just talked about, it would be interesting to do an episode on that pivot, because I know that's a big pivot for us as a company. So that's something that, maybe we could help explain for folks as well. So,
sure.
Okay, Dennis Karg is asking, if they do release memberships in the foreseeable future, increasing the hard limit of 10,000 is definitely an important point to even consider the feature. I think probably you're going to see this limitation. I have to imagine with some of the refactoring they've done for Logic and for memberships and for some of this new stuff they're working on, include some of that. I don't want to like say, because I don't know. I really have no inside knowledge on that. But I have to feel like it's coming soon with some of these platforms. Like if they want to become a true visual software development platform and they want to have user-generated content and CRUD functionalities inside the system, like they have to. So it's inevitable. I agree with you, Dennis. I'm just not sure when.
It's absolutely something they are addressing, and it's because of a legacy limitation from what Webflow used to be, right? I'm sure that there was a point where there were like 10,000 entries. That's a lot of entries. But now it's being used for something completely different. It's gone to the next level 20 times over. So now, yeah, it requires a full system upgrade, which we know they're working on, but we don't have any timeline on that.
Yeah. Going back, let's see. Bubble is not the same as Webflow. It's way much different. Yeah, it's very much many more difference. Webflow or Bubble's super powerful on the back end. Don't get me wrong. Like nobody's disparaging Bubble. The stuff you can do with Bubble is amazing. Webflow wishes they had half the potential on the back end. But on the front end, as a pure abstraction of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, Webflow does it like nobody else. So in Bubble, you're still working with some of that kind of like, they just introduced Flexbox. They just introduced some of the responsive engine stuff. They've got a long way to go before they catch up on the front end. But Webflow's got a long way to go before they catch up on the back end. So this is the race in my mind, right? Does Bubble catch the front end or does Webflow catch the back end? Either way, you still have the community. I guarantee you the people at Bubble sit around on their community side, on their marketing team, and they wonder like, how can we get this kind of like rabid, consumerism from our fans, from our users? Like it's not as sexy. It's not as beautiful. They're not giving the creative class the same freedom in a visual canvas that Webflow does. And let's see. Joshua Fry's here saying Framer was pitching their sites as replaces Webflow, but I'm not convinced, and I'm not either. And I'm not sure Bubble's going to catch them. So Joe, any thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a totally different product, and I think a different market. At least it gets people interested in totally different things. I mean, you go to the Bubble side, and they're very interested in solving technical problems, where here in Webflow, people are a lot more interested in solving design problems and enhancing design and creating excellent layouts, where that's not something that's really native in Bubble. So it's very different. I don't really like to relate the two at all.
Yeah. At some point, I'm sure there will be a lot more feature parity between all these platforms. I got to imagine 2, 3, 4 years from now, there will be broad feature parity across all these networks, just like, you can live stream to YouTube and Facebook, and now LinkedIn's playing with live streaming, and, Instagram has live streaming and Twitter has live streaming. And so like, eventually the platforms all kind of catch up to themselves. It's what happens between now and then, I think, that makes the difference. And this is where, again, that community comes back in, where, like the advantage they have right now. I don't know. Yeah. Akshay is saying it. Community is the moat. Definitely a unique advantage. Medela, I've tried an abandoned framer so many times. Cool tool for prototyping for sure. Peter nails it here. Yeah. So, yep. Okay. Let's see. Go ahead, Joe.
We have a comment again from Merceya. And he asks, would Finsweet attributes filtering work on the 10,000 external database? I do not need SEO. This is so gold for me. Sorry for hogging you. No problem. Let's get you through this. So can you filter more than this 10,000 limit? SEO is not a problem. So we can go and pull that data from Airtable. We can pull it from an API, from JSON, whatever. Yes, absolutely. Finsweet attributes will work for that. We have successfully implemented a filter from external data. If you go on our attributes page on the updates page of the attributes docs, you'll see a list that is being pulled from GitHub. This is a live list from GitHub, and we are using our attribute solution to filter through that list. So yes, absolutely possible. We have accounted for this situation.
Nice. And that should answer this one too. Is attribute CMS filter worked with Wiz? As long as you're displaying the content on the page, as long as it's on the Webflow site and the attributes can be applied to control it, I think it should, right? Like everything should work just like Joe described. Am I wrong there, Joe?
It depends. That question, yeah. You know, I'm not going to answer that question the same that I answered the Airtable question.
Got it.
I know that you can make it work. We have an open attributes API. We don't have docs for it, but it's open. And with this API, you would be able to do anything, but it may require a little bit of code. So yes, but I can't really comment on specifics for that.
Yeah, and I was thinking in the context of once you pass it from Wiz into Webflow. So if you're pulling it into Webflow, then attributes should just work like it is. But yeah, if you're not, then I don't know, make it a little more complex, like Joe's saying there. So.
And you know what? I think if you were to reach out to support for either side, either Wiz or CMS, I think we'd be able to walk you through that.
Yeah, nice. Sam Harrison is saying, I think Webflow could actually benefit from a worthy competitor. At the moment, it's untouchable, but a decent competitor might mean we get features rolled out a little quicker. Competition's always good. Competition's always pushing things forward. I agree. I just don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. Not anytime soon. I know there's other platforms that portend to be competitors, but even like the other day, we did that Webflow WordPress episode, and people were like looking at Elementor and Oxygen. They're like, it's just like Webflow. And then we got into them, and it's not just like Webflow. So even the folks who think they're competitors are not truly going to be competitors for a couple reasons. In the world of software, design matters. Design is everything right now. And Webflow is design first. When people build software, they don't give a shit what tool you use to build it. They just want to know that it works. And like, they don't want it to be ugly. They don't want it to be clunky. They don't want to get in there and take 10 seconds between clicking and doing a thing, right? They want the snappy, responsive, beautiful thing. And this is where Webflow gives you a huge advantage. You can build anything you want on the front end with Webflow. Now, they leave you a lot of limitations on the back end, but I think that's the gap, that's the chasm they'll cross in the next year or two. And that's, again, where they just have like such a unique advantage in the ability to build anything, any level of nuance, any like tight little group, whatever you want to do. Whereas some of these other tools, they give you that ability to build that functionality, but when you go to them, you're like, what am I dealing with here? You know, and so you have a hard time converting users and building momentum and really getting traction, you know? And so like, I don't know. I don't know how that plays out. I don't know. I'd be interested to know, Joe, if you have any thoughts on that, but I think that really matters. That first experience, that emotional connection with the user, I don't know. You can do that better with Webflow than you can with any other platform. Thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And I think that this mentality goes to anything. It goes to any type of topic. If you see an advertisement and it looks beautiful, you're going to be more drawn to that product or whatever that advertisement is selling. If you see an advertisement...
103.
Oh,
okay, well,
nice.
Sorry.
Nice.
Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
If you see an advertisement that's ugly, then you are less likely to like that product. So the idea of something looking really good versus looking not good or looking less professional, it attracts us for anything. It could be food. It could be body care products. It doesn't matter. It could be websites. It could be software. So yeah, that's a big advantage for Webflow, that we get that ability to make something look beautiful. And on that first interaction, someone says, wow, let me find out more.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, how quickly do you think you can give an overview of what are folders in Client First? We did a little bit of this on the episode, but Josh Fry is asking, what are folders?
Folders. We are going to be releasing a feature update in Client First that will allow you to create virtual folders inside Designer. Using the Client First naming convention, using a single add-on to that convention will allow you to nest and multi-nest folders inside Designer. And that way you can get a full view of your classes, everything that your project entails, right in a folder structure, almost like your Finder in a Mac.
Along with the ability to bulk update, bulk edit,
Yes.
you know, like do cool shit, see your CSS classes in a visual way that you've never looked at them before. We did a walkthrough and kind of like a tease of this on one of the recent Learn It Lives. I don't remember. It was towards the end of one of the episodes of one of the last couple weeks. I think it was like the client first, transferring a site to client first or something. If you check those live streams towards the ends, I think we give a tease on that. So Maria, come to Greece for some euros. I'm in. Let's see. There's a question here I wanted to address. DK Jux. What's the best rebuttal to the objection that WordPress has been open source for years and has so many free plugins and hooks into the framework? Getting pushback on adding new fees at every turn. Okay. We've talked about this too. We have an episode dedicated to the difference between open source versus closed source and what that really means. I think that while WordPress is open source, there's a lot of limitations to using that in a truly open source manner, and most people are not technically savvy enough to like stand up the code on their own server, which means they're reliant on other hosting providers, they're reliant on the plugin providers, they're reliant on the themes, right? And so unless you're a developer, open source really doesn't like do a lot for you other than the knowledge of knowing that you can have it on a separate server and somebody can't turn it off. So there's a lot of ways to overcome that. I think if you go back and check that episode, we did a deep dive on this topic in the last few weeks. Joe, any highlights on that you want to bring up for DK Jux? We've got maybe a power outage again, so we won't get Joe's thoughts on that just yet. Peter is asking here, I'm noticing that a lot of people are talking about sections as CSS classes, but not as HTML tags. I also see that in a lot of projects, and maybe we need to talk more about it. Agreed, Peter. I think that comes with people having a proper understanding of CSS versus like just seeing Webflow as like layers, named layers in like a Photoshop file or a Figma file or something like that. I think a lot of times as creatives, people come into Webflow and they just see titles and labels in the navigator and they just treat them like layers in a Photoshop file as opposed to understanding global classes or how HTML tags work. And so I agree, Peter. I think that's part of that technical hurdle. So I agree. We could probably do lots of content on that. If you have anything specific on that, or if you'd like to do some content, maybe come on the show, do a Learn It Live with us or something. We're open to doing some of that too. So Frank, any IRL plans coming to the Bay Area? Tampa Bay, not San Francisco Bay. If Webflow does the no-code conf, we will be out there. Otherwise, there's nothing really drawing us out that way except for maybe a video project. So we'll keep y'all updated on that. But there are percolating plans for some in-person meetup stuff coming up, and that's all I'll say about that at this time. So Urban Pixel, no, Joe. I think this is, oh, hang on. My comments aren't refreshing here. Let me try this. There we go. Let's see. Okay. They are not updating. Okay. Not sure what's going on with that. But anyway, so we'll try to get those up on the screen as we go. And it looks like Joe's trying to reconnect here. So it looks like we might have Joe back. What's up, Joe?
I am back. Sorry about that. Lights went off and on.
Alan Connor is saying, I thought Finsweet was New York, but you are now distributed. Always been distributed. Joe, you want to take that one?
Yeah, we've been distributed since year 2. I come from New York. The business is registered in New York, but even I live outside of New York. So yeah, we're all over the world.
Nice. Yeah, it's actually one of the coolest things in my experience is dealing with this international team. That's a new thing for me. I'm used to working with people like in a local setting, like being kind of in the same place when you work on stuff. And so, yeah, this whole remote thing and then dealing with different cultures and dealing with different time zones. And so, yeah, that's been a super interesting thing for me to learn. I think we're really good at it. We have like a stage 4, I think is what they call it, totally asynchronous work environment, completely results based. you know? And so this is the future of work. I saw some comments the other day. People were talking about in a few years, people will write stories about the new business model that we're pioneering. I don't necessarily think that we're pioneering a new business model, but we are at the front edge of this like remote distributed work. And I think in the context of working with Webflow, we are innovating in ways of turning like a fixed platform like that into something else as we grow with products. So I don't know, Joe, any thoughts on that?
Yes. I was actually completely focused on a comment and answering a technical comment. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to say to that.
Okay, no worries. Which question was that? Should we jump to a different one?
Now I will. I'm now back on track to that. Yeah, this new way of working is what people want, and I think the younger generation is going to want it even more. The younger generation hasn't even started working yet, but when they do in 5 and 10 years, they're just going to make demands of this type of work environment where they can do what they want, when they want, all online.
Yeah.
So yeah, it totally makes sense.
Here's a good follow-up kind of in the same realm. Sorry. Just follow up to the same question.
Was it difficult building a strong company culture being fully remote? Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's difficult. You have to be really nice to people. You have to trust people, and people have to trust you. And as long as all those things happen, you can build a strong culture inside of your company. I think that when you're face to face, there are other difficulties of building a culture. I would even say it may be more difficult to build a company culture because people do things face to face that may annoy you, but behind a screen and working asynchronously when you want, people are happier working. So yeah, I don't think it's more difficult. It's definitely different, but establish trust, be nice, and that's all really you need for online relationships.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, you had another one that you wanted to jump into. You had like, let's get to
I did. Yeah, I did, because we want to work on this, but we have one clarifying question. This is from Supercharged Studio MCC. Question about attributes in Weglot. Weglot only translates the first page, not the next pages. This happens with pagination and others. Any idea? So we actually brought this up to our technical team yesterday, and there's a question that we did not properly get answered. Are you having a problem with the JavaScript version, or are you having a problem with the subdomain version? Depending on your problem, it's two completely different things. So please answer that for us, Supercharge, and we will get to fixing that.
Nice. Okay, 104 of you, 106 watching now, 40 likes. Come on, let's drop some likes on that video, please. We'd appreciate that. Send YouTube some signals that they should send us some more viewers so that we can, keep doing the badass stuff we do for this community. Frank Oven, as a relatively new user of Webflow and no code, what 3 tools are the most powerful to add to my arsenal besides Webflow? Joe, do you want to shoot a couple off the hip, or?
I'm going to lock my 3 in as Webflow, Airtable, Zapier. I think with these 3 tools, you can really take control of your no-code experience, of starting a business, of organizing your business. I wish that I started with these tools from day one. I only started with Webflow, and I picked up Airtable and Zapier, I think 3 years in, and it's done really good things for us. Mostly Airtable.
Yeah, I agree. Airtable is a big one. You should learn Airtable, if only just to learn data modeling. Airtable is basically like a visual interface for building databases and linking them and having relations. And I've used Airtable to help like a friend of mine who was developing software who didn't understand like data models and how relationships worked and how to like connect and link things and how to like just see the information architecture of some kind of like thing he was trying to build. And Airtable is really good for that. It's not a no-code tool, but it's something that I've been using a lot more recently is Notion for organizing myself. So organizing documents and documentation and even doing like event planning and wikis and stuff. I really love Notion. And I'm trying to think if I had a third that I use all the time, it probably would be like a Zapier or some kind of, logic layer or something that, some kind of connection. Maybe some email tools, honestly, marketing, like the no code stuff. Learn Webflow and a little bit of marketing before you get too deep. Learn how to get people in your product in front of folks before you get too worried about building complicated stuff. Oh my goodness, there's so many questions here. Okay. Joe, do you see anything? This one's interesting, but I don't really know what he means. Nicola Toledo, I was curious to know if you, Finsweet, will be willing to change since you have created a lot for Webflow. I think we need some
platforms?
Yeah,
I'm guessing change platforms.
Yeah.
I would say no. I would say absolutely no. Webflow would have to do something absolutely terrible for us to leave, and I just can't see it happening. We've invested way too much into Webflow. We're very proud of that. And yeah, we're not going to just go to some other competitor. We're here for good.
Yeah. As long as Webflow's innovating and doing the things they're doing, we're probably going to be here doing whatever we can right beside them. So, Let's see. This is Alan. How is all your team doing that was based in Ukraine? Is there anything the community can do to help? Joe, you want to take that one?
Yes, we have 2 people on the team that are very directly affected. We have one person who is in Ukraine right now, not able to leave. We also have somebody living in Germany who has been helping a lot of people in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine. Yeah. So yes, we're affected. We set up a Give Butter campaign. This is a client that we built a website for, and they have a wonderful campaign platform. So we do have this fund that we started that the people on our team are running. So yeah, that's the update from us.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if anybody's watching from the Finsweet who can grab that Give Butter link, or maybe Joe, if you have it from Sergey, we can share it in the comments in case anybody wants to jump in on that. Okay, let's see. Just got an email from Webflow. We now offer reverse proxy setup as a service for enterprise customers. So there you go. All you have to do is get an enterprise plan with Webflow and you're all set. That's a joke. For some of y'all, it's fairly expensive to become an enterprise Webflow customer, and I don't know what kind of technical complexity you need to set up something like that. Whether some people might need it, might not. I don't know. That's Joe. Any thoughts there on enterprise reverse proxy stuff?
Well, it's great if you can afford enterprise. A lot of companies cannot afford enterprise. So yeah, this is something that's good to know how to do. And if you're working with smaller companies, you may not need this. We never really needed this until a few years in. And we've only started implementing it and helping people with it within this past year, I'd say. So yeah, we can do more content on this. It's a confusing but very learnable topic.
Yeah. Softer is the one to watch. Okay. So Jeremy says here, I've heard of Softer. I don't know, Joe, are you familiar with Softer?
I'm not. I've heard of it. I don't know it.
Let's take a peek. The easiest way to build client portals, internal tools. Okay. So yeah, there you go. There are people popping out into the world made with Softer. This feels familiar. I haven't dug too deep into any of this, so it will be interesting to see how the competitive landscape evolves over the next couple years. Let's see.
I'm here providing some written tech support to that supercharge question.
Oh, nice. Okay.
About the WeGlot subdomains. What else do we have?
Let's see. Thank you guys so much. This solves a big problem for me as soon as I'm paid. Yeah, Finsweet Pro member for sure. Go ahead. And then I think I saw another question from that person earlier. There's lots of comments coming today. I'm trying to keep up. Let's see. I'm a web developer and video maker. Can I work with you? This is the same Mercia whose comment we just had. Yeah, show us something. You know, we're actually looking for some people on the marketing, video, content creation side. Show us your stuff. Typically, the way we make those decisions is by seeing folks who stand out in the community and then starting those conversations with them. So it's not a very traditional hiring process here at Finsweet. So
No.
This might be a good idea, Joe. A Udemy course for client first, or some kind of like, we're doing that with the certified stuff, but maybe like an intro to client first, you know, would be good.
The past month, I have been leading a team to rewrite client first docs. So we are absolutely making really important changes to the documentation. The system isn't changing. We're not completely changing it. When we release this new version of the docs, your current sites will still be equally as client first. The new update includes learning paths. It includes more pages. So instead of big giant pages, maybe a big giant page is broken into 4 mini pages where you can better understand the content. And it's much more of a learning experience, a direct learning experience. In this previous version, there's a lot of use cases. If this were the case, this is what happened. For example, a lot of examples. Now, we've seen this being used. It's no longer theoretical. The use of client first everywhere isn't theoretical. It's working. People are enjoying it. So now we can go in and we can make statements. Instead of just explaining in examples, we make statements with one example. So yes, we're working on it. It's not exactly Udemy style, but I promise you there'll be better learning for the initiative.
This could be something that we tackle. Like, I'm still in the process of learning client first. So maybe we could do a public boot camp, Joe, where we do that, we record it, and maybe we make that like available for pro only. You know, we do like a live client first, like let's all learn it together fully, right? Like I understand client first, I understand most of it, I can build with it, and I'm like 90 to 95% sure, like I'm getting there. But it would be good to go through from scratch and maybe create some content on that.
Yeah, I think once those docs are done, that could be a good first run for the docs.
Great.
Nice.
Okay, going back to some remote work stuff. Kane is saying, I work fully remote. Whole company is all around the world with teams and always being online, constant meetings. I feel super connected. Yeah, Urban Pixel saying, when the people are motivated and putting in the work based on passion, remote is never an issue. Christoph, Monday morning, I'm starting 100% fully remote job. But then Jonathan, or JD Holden says, remote equals trust plus nice. But what if you have to tell someone their work isn't up to par? Usually in this kind of setting, they're going to know what's happening. You know, they're like, they haven't been delivering for a while. You know, this is not a surprise to them. I don't know, Joe, any thoughts there?
I agree. I think most of the time it's not a surprise. This is something that you just have to say. It's also difficult in person. I don't see a difference in doing this in person or online. Usually when somebody's work isn't up to par, what we'll do is we'll warn them. Like, hey, the job description, the promise was this. Based on the work, it's not matching. You know, I like to have real facts and proof. You said this was supposed to be done on this date, didn't happen. This was supposed to be done on this date, didn't happen. And very factual, not trying to be mean, just this is what's happening. If it continues happening, we'll have to let you go. If you fix all of these problems, we're happy to grow together. That's it. I think it's very simple. It's as long as you are honest and trustworthy with people, it's going to work. If that person is not honest and trustworthy and they're missing the deadlines, they're not hitting their own deadlines, they're not doing the work that they originally promised, that's just a break of trust. So it's never going to work.
Yeah, look into something called the results only work environment too, if you want to dig deeper on this. We live in a world where, again, like the work either does what it does or it doesn't. There's not a lot of BSing here. Either the video plays and I have a video, or I don't have a video. Either the website loads or I don't have a, you know, like, so there's not a lot of like, oh, well, you know, like I can BS my way through blah, blah, blah to make people think I'm kind of carrying my load. And so when you set clear expectations and you say, hey, the only thing that matters is that you hit these expectations, well, then it's real clear. You can take a week off between now and doing that expectation as long as that expectation is done. But at the end of the day, if that expectation's not met, you shouldn't have a hard time saying like, hey, your work's not up to par. So I wanted to touch on another piece of this because Kane's saying that feeling super connected, and I feel this too, but I do want to say, like, after that open house the other day, I really hated that we weren't all together to just be like, let's go get dinner and have a drink and like all like just revel in what just happened, you know? And so there was that moment where like being in person, being at an event, having the ability to just have that camaraderie and that energy in person was like missing for me. And I've noticed that after events like Clone Comp, Open House, little stuff that we've done over the years. So as much as I love the online events, as much as I love the remote culture, the connectivity, I still think there's some of those things that miss. And I'd be interested, Joe, on your thoughts with that. Do you ever run into any of that?
Well, I don't think I like seeing people as much as you like seeing people. I think that's just part of our deep souls. Raymmar is very much an extrovert, and that's such a great thing about him. He can make friends anywhere. He's very talkative. He can start a conversation for a long time. Me, I don't really like to do that. Maybe I can start a conversation or I can go see people, but usually my answer to that is no, thank you.
Yeah.
So I like seeing people, but I don't want to see you every day. Maybe not even every week. I think a once a month thing is my max. That's
Nice.
what I would prefer.
Okay.
And right now at Finsweet, I think we're on track for probably once a year. I think that kind of seems we're at this pace.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And by
different
that you're
people are
meaning like
different.
the in person, like the hangout in person
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it was super cool to be together for that week with the folks that couldn't
awesome.
make it, obviously, because the team's so remote. It's hard to get everyone into one place, and we're not like some big funded tech company that's got like millions and millions of dollars sitting in the bank, you know, where we can just say, hey, everyone, you know, like we're going to rent this all-inclusive resort over here and fly everyone out. So like it's a little different, you know, starting up and doing some of this stuff. And so that's that unique business model. But I don't know. There's a balance to be had for sure. There's a reason why a lot of these remote companies find ways to do, you know, in-person stuff. There's a reason why like meetups matter, or why folks like, you know, the community is important. But there's something there about that real connection that, that's just, I don't know. That's going to be an interesting thing to see as this remote stuff takes off and as like this becomes the norm. How does that impact society or social development or different things as it goes? So, seeing anything else, Joe? Let's see. Daniel's got one here. If you want to take a swing at this.
Could you build a bid site where you need to validate the bid and process the know your client info, automated as possible, of course, and show historical bids and who made them? The first part, I was saying yes. So basically a site that's going to do some logic to qualify or not qualify somebody. The next part is show historical bids and who made them. Yes. So now we're looking at a database. We're going to store all of those bids, and then we are going to show them back on the site. You know, this is a great WISD use case. This is something that you can use WISD for. Go ahead and it's a form. You submit the form to your Airtable database. Airtable is going to put it in a table, and that same completed table is going to show up on the page. So yeah, Wiz is great for this. Sending things somewhere, doing something with them, and then bringing them back on the page.
Yeah. And it's somebody's asking a good question here. Dave is saying, Daniel, are you suggesting an NFT marketplace here? It does sound like some kind of... just be careful. Sending a bid and then having logic based on that sent bid are two different things, right? So having a list of people making a bid and displaying some kind of activity feed is one thing. Taking that activity and then creating logic so that other things happen across the site based on those bids, that's a whole different layer. And so, just note there that just because you can display a string of bids and track some of that doesn't mean, you can connect all those dots or do some of the other things. So I don't know.
And to be clear, I am not suggesting to build an NFT marketplace. That would be very, very difficult, much more difficult than the simple example. That's just one piece of it, like Raymmar said. The big thing for that, changing prices. So based on the bids, now the price of the thing changes. That right there is a big difficulty. And that's just another tiny piece of it. It's a huge project.
Tenet, no need to feel for me. I've got plenty of friends here locally and stuff to do. It's just not the same. I can't geek out with them like I can about Webflow and about all the stuff I do. So like, we do all this fun Webflow stuff and we build all these cool things. And then I go into my world and they're like, so sports or so art or so music. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But, this thing over here. And so it's like, anyway. Let's see, Jeff McAvoy, same. He needs time to himself. So yeah, Maria saying Joe's my kind of dude.
Nice.
Joe's so straightforward, no bullshit. Nice. Agree with Joe. I'm half Raymmar, half Joe. Yeah. So it looks like, and I think most people in this space are probably a little more introvert. The designers, the creators, those types of folks. I think they tend to be a little bit more introverted. So let's see. There are so many questions. Let's go back to the top. Joe, if you see anything, just call it out. Let's see. Sorry to say, Webflow e-commerce sucks compared to WordPress. I didn't say it, but I wouldn't disagree with you right now. If you're looking to build complex e-commerce sites, I wouldn't recommend Webflow either. I'm hoping soon they will get there, they will be a lot more competitive. But there's another Diego Mendoza saying, would you guys say that right now Webflow e-commerce is a better choice than Shopify for clients starting their business for product sales? It really depends on what they're trying to sell, but I would say probably not if they have any volume of items. If it's simple items and it's just like not a lot of variations, right? It's not a lot of variable items. You don't need like configurators. You don't need product selectors. You don't need like, but then even payment portals come into play and different integrations. So I don't know. Right now, it would be a very limited use case that I would recommend Webflow e-commerce for. I would recommend WooCommerce or Shopify or something like that for any kind of complexity dealing with e-commerce at this point. Joe, any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a growing platform for sure. It came simple. They said it was going to come simple. And yeah, I see this in a few years being a serious competitor.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not seeing many questions. So I've just asked, if we missed your question and you're still here, please re-ask it so it can be in the top of the messages. We got a lot of comments this whole stream, right?
The chat rate has been higher than usual. And luckily, when I use my little tool, it highlights the questions that have been asked and haven't. So I have a fairly clear view of what hasn't. Nice. I'm just trying to see let's see. Ghost Shah is saying, what do you think about logic and memberships in Webflow? Has somebody used memberships beta? Joe, have we played much with that? I know we've experimented a little bit with it, but not super in depth on the membership side, right?
Yeah, we played a little bit with the beta. It looks cool. It has a really nice integration to Designer, and then that's it. Just a small little beta. Everything looks cool, but we don't have any information about it.
Yeah, and the people who are under NDA right now, they're not really supposed to be talking too much about it publicly. Yeah. So
that's all I can say. Yeah. There's honestly nothing else to really say. There's not. Webflow, is rolling out these betas in a starting small, building up way. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. Nice. Let's see. My UX manager just take a glance at my work only on a weekly. They really trust me and my team. That's it. You deliver the work, you're going to get more work. You don't deliver the work, the team's going to let you go. So, let's see. Yeah, Webflow e-commerce I think is awesome for small handcrafted stuff, low volume. Perfect example. That's a great way to say that. I've noticed that Make has more triggers integrated from Webflow CMS API, makes bulk updating CMS, and yeah, there was a conversation happening in the comments between Make versus Integromat. Sure. Yeah, I agree. I think Integromat for workflow stuff, or now Make has a better workflow for that stuff.
We have a question, a kind of technical question here from Demetrius. Is it possible to make a doctor-patient database inside Webflow, like adding to different sessions for each patient's page and updating any previous sessions? I suppose yes, but haven't really looked. Well, the technology behind that is possible. However, dealing with medical data, you have to be extra careful and look at all of the laws that relate to this. I know in the US, you probably would not be able to host any of that medical data on something like a Webflow. But I don't know we're not getting into that part of it. But yes, having a database where there's two different types of people, there's different types of sessions, and then applying people to sessions, sure, it's going to require a lot of custom code. But yeah, the underlying technology would be possible.
Yeah. Matt Thompson, could you talk about how far the new Webflow logic will allow people to go? We really can't because we haven't used it.
Nothing. Yeah.
I know their goal is to have full ability to build software visually. So I got to imagine complex, but I also imagine that early on it'll be fairly limited and then expand from there. I think early on it'll be very simple logic gates on forms, just based on what they shared at like No Code Conf and through some of the public updates that they've done. It looks like just pretty basic logic early on, with hopefully the ability to add complexity and different types of, and or sequences, loops, etc., as it evolves. So, is trivia something we'll continue to do in the future? Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be something that we'll add to the regular rotation. I don't know how often, but yeah, and I think we're going to do some fun stuff where it's like if you're a pro member, we'll double the prize money kind of thing if you win. And we'll do lots of fun. We'll do like maybe some members only trivia. We'll do some public trivia. We'll have different topics. So maybe trivia can be about specific things. So we could do like interactions only trivia, or, I don't know. Lots of fun potential there for that. So.
We have a question from Yannick. Joe, being an introvert, how are you so comfortable in front of camera and being kind of a public person in the Webflow space? Well, just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't have extroverted moments. I can be an extrovert. I can speak in front of 10,000 people on stage. I have no problem with that. It feels great. But I still consider myself an introvert. I can make that switch, but really, I prefer to just hang out and not hang out with other people. So, and I think there's also different levels of introverts. There are some introverts that don't want to talk to people and are also really shy in public. I am not that one. I'm not shy in public. I just tend to not talk unless I'm spoken to. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah. And I find myself back and forth between those two, as well. I used to be pure extrovert. I was 100%. I only wanted to be out and buzzing and talking with folks. And as I got more into like learning about web and design and really getting back in touch with like my creative side, getting out of that sales world, and really finding my stride, I find myself going back and forth now. Like there's moments where all I want to do is be around people and chaos and noise. And then there's other times where I don't want to see another soul. I don't want to talk to anybody. But usually I like to just kind of riff. I love to read. I love to study. I love to learn. And so for me, this is an opportunity to kind of like test what I've learned, is doing this video stuff. And so I actually like this as a channel for like just flexing the brain muscles a little bit. We're always improvising. It's always on the fly. There's like lots of things happening at once. And so I don't know. I think there's a different appeal to talking to your camera versus going into a crowded room and like shaking hands. So I'm not sure that's a fair comparison there, but
yeah, it's interesting how different people identify differently on that two-way scale, extrovert, introvert. But I think there's a lot of nuances all throughout those two sides.
Yeah. This one I'm going to tee up for you, Joe. Matt Thompson's asking, what are your most desired features for Webflow? If you had to have one thing right now that you could just snap your finger and Webflow is going to release that feature tomorrow, what would it be?
Better access to the CMS. Better technical access to the CMS.
Yeah.
Whether that's through CMS API, whether that's through something else, just technically being able to work with that data. Because in Demetrius's example, when he's talking about the doctor-patient files, maybe with the proper resources to handle that data in the CMS, it could be more of a reality. So yeah, that's what I would say for that.
Yeah. Nice. Joseph Bates. Oh, just found this. I'll have to watch the rerun. That's right. Drop a like, watch the, go back and start watching this thing from the beginning. Even if you see the whole thing, just go back and let it play so that our average view duration spikes. Let's see.
I'd also like to bring up from Demetrius again, a follow-up to the doctor-patient example. Thought Wiz would be the best match for creating this kind of database with CRUD actions. You're absolutely right. This would be a great Wiz application. I just went to the custom JavaScript just thinking that the data may have to be stored in a more secure location because it's medical content. So there may need to be something more custom. But yeah, I think Wiz for the underlying functionality would be excellent for it.
Yeah, T brings up a good point here, though. Medical data, you're getting into HIPAA regulations, so just make sure whatever you're doing matches compliance. That's a whole nother ball of wax. Legal compliance with stuff like that, that's a whole different game. So being able to do it is one thing. Being able to do it securely, legally, and compliant with all the regulations is just a whole nother
completely
chapter.
Different.
Yeah. Ahmed, I've seen you ask this question a couple times. We don't really know or do much with Webflow e-commerce, so there's not a lot we can throw at this. We don't have any answers for that right now. Same thing here. Webflow plus Foxy to e-commerce. The reason I like native e-commerce, if I was going to do an option, is because it's baked into the cake and it's inside Webflow. Foxy gives you a lot of options to add different payment processors and create checkout options and kind of add e-commerce to Webflow. But then you have the whole separation of systems. And so, yeah, they're both good solutions if they meet the use case. We, again, just don't do a lot of e-commerce with Webflow stuff. And so, again, we would just defer to that as a statement that we just don't do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Lots of people are sharing about their introvert status. I'm an introvert that spent years as a stand-up comic. There you go.
Oh, nice. Okay. Joe, I feel like you're a bit like Chris Doe, who defines himself as a loud introvert. Okay, that's cool. I like that. I call myself a selective extrovert. Nice. I agree with that. They call that ambivert. Nice.
Matt. Yeah, people who talk the most usually say the least. Yeah. I've learned as I get older that, especially in big group settings, especially on social media, especially in lots of places, I just zip it up. Let's see. There we go.
Love attributes. Thank you. The search and filter functionality, for example, is very powerful for us as Webflow developers. How do we explain Advertiser's value to potential clients? Well, Darren, I'm going to share an article that talks about some of the highlights that we have in attributes. These are things that make your site load faster, that really efficiently handle the data, and really focus on high speed scores and making sure Google is happy. So I'll share that in the chat for you. Read that. That's going to give you a lot of good context into how to sell this to your clients.
Nice. While he's doing that, Nicola Toledo is asking, how do you see Finsweet Pro in 3 years? This is a good question. I think we see this growing as a core function of our product offering. We were talking about this internally, that we're kind of labeling this as a Finsweet Pro account in the context that this is going to offer you access to all sorts of premium features in the tools that we're building, as well as kind of access to our inner circle at Finsweet as a professional network. And so Joe may have other thoughts also, but I think for us, it's about adding as much value as possible, really making sure that the subscription and that those dollars spent lead to real tools that help professionals make money with Webflow, but also really growing and nurturing the ability to pump the Webflow ecosystem, right? So whether that's coming up with a system to send leads into these pros, bringing these pros into a higher level of lead flow in Webflow, elevating their standing somehow, we really want to just like be at the forefront of what it means to be a professional making money with Webflow. And that's where we're going to focus all of our resources, on that pro side of things. Joe, did I miss anything there?
That's a great overview. And we want it to be a massive community. We just want to get as many people together that all share the same values. And yeah, with more people, it becomes more powerful. We can do more specialized events. We can do more specialized product offerings or education offerings. So yeah, we want to grow this as much as possible so we can deliver as much as possible.
And the biggest differentiator, if you're thinking, is like, if you're thinking community stuff, that stuff's going to be as much as possible open to the public, right? When we're talking on the pro side, a lot of that's going to be related to products and services and kind of inside access to tools. And so that's where we see the biggest difference. We still see us doubling down on community stuff, doing all sorts of free online events, really like maybe even taking a couple steps up in the stuff that we do on the community side that's just available to everyone. However, on the product side, as we get more into becoming a products powerhouse and being a products first company rather than just a Webflow agency, we wanted to have a place to beta test products, get alpha testers for new releases, maybe just find unique ways to, again, test these tools that people are using to make money with Webflow and refine those before then we release those products out. And also to have just people on the front edge of that. So it's always good to have like a baked in test group like that. And so again, as we develop products, that's really where I see those pro features standing out.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a question from Stephen Hilario. Oh,
yep. Go ahead, Stephen.
Is there a date for the FM Pro to bump its price? And yes, there is a date. Raymmar, do you have that? End of May, something?
Yeah, end of May. So let me see. Let's go to this. I don't know that it's in here officially, but I do think it says, offer valid through May 31st. And I think this 79 is also going to bump to 99 on that day. So just a heads up, this is 79 annually or $299 for the lifetime, or this is going to jump to 99 annually, and that will be the only option except for like for special occasions or special events, or as like we may occasionally give lifetime access as like a prize for certain events, or like if you win Clone Comp or things like that, we may do like a big, as part of a prize package, but otherwise it'll just be the annual plan. And as you can see, everything here on the F and free side, the live streams, the newsletter, the public events, workshops, all the free products, all the video tutorials, even a public Slack channel, all that's still free. So if you are struggling to think about how to make that investment, don't sweat that. We're also going to do some stuff on the live streams. Between now and the end of May, we're going to give away a bunch of these memberships too. So this is all new for us as of the open house. So just give us a second as we kind of figure out all the working kinks for how we do this pro thing. So
nice. Exciting.
I wanted to go back to Diego's question. I actually got like, I want to like jump into this because I do. Do you see Webflow memberships as a competitor for platforms like Patreon or OnlyFans, where creators charge for their exclusive content and manage every part of the process? Boy, do I ever. You should become an effing pro if you're interested in learning more about this and how we think that might happen. I think Webflow, there's use cases for Webflows that we haven't even seen or thought about yet. Especially with the clonable functionality, especially as logic and memberships come into play. I 100% see people looking to get away from a Substack or a Patreon or a OnlyFans or whatever and have full design control of that experience, right? Again, you know, like some people won't, but lots of people will. And maybe lots of people will want to build those types of sites and make them clonable for others, right? And so maybe you want to build a cool Patreon clone and ship it off as a clonable or sell it as a template or do whatever. And so I think I would love to have a conversation about this in depth for an hour. But I'd reveal my cards a little bit. So soon we will see more conversations about this kind of stuff. Joe, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think absolutely it will. And when it first launches, it's going to be for very simple memberships.
Mm-hmm.
Once Logic integrates into all this, then you can start creating your own true competitors to these types of platforms. When you can start to really customize how the flow goes and give yourself some differentiation from something like a Patreon.
Yeah. And this goes back to what Joe said as his ideal feature would be the ability to manipulate the CMS data in a more easy/efficient way for developers. As soon as we see that, you'll see people go nuts with this type of thing where Webflow just becomes like the trunk line for all sorts of online experiences, where people just want to feed data to a place. They want a visual software designer to be able to style that up, add some real basic logic, send it. And so every company, just like they're using Webflow to build a landing page right now, will soon build customer portals and community portals and little interactive hubs that they'll pull data from all the other touch points and feed it in there into some dashboard. And this is what we talk about all the time is front end as a service, which is what Webflow's pioneering. Going back to that open source concept where people say WordPress is better because it's open source and Webflow is a closed source platform. Well, I think Webflow's open sourcing the software design process itself. So it's Webflow's open sourcing the digital design process. So maybe the platform itself is not open source, but soon the products of what people build in it will essentially be open source in the context that you'll be able to just spool up a thing and go start a business, right? Front end as a service, plug your data into it and run. And so I think that's 100% what I see coming, Diego, here is there's another reason too. Right now, all these platforms only allow one person. Like if I'm at the top of my Substack, people subscribe to me, but that doesn't really work, right? And it's only going to work for a small number of people in those places. There's top performers on Patreon or OnlyFans or whatever. But what you see in a modern media standpoint, why cable news was so valuable, it's because it bundled things like Discovery Channel and History Channel and some cable news and all these other things and paid under one subscription. So right now, as we see these membership sites evolve, it's just one-to-one pay to play. So I'm just paying the one person I follow on Substack or the one person I follow on Patreon. Whereas soon, and what Webflow could allow is for multiple people to work together on building one of these sites. So maybe 10 or 15 or 20 people come together to build a single Patreon facing front. And now those 15 people own that one web property that they're collaboratively building together. That becomes way more powerful than just a single person managing a single Substack. So if you ask me, I do see that in the future. I don't know exactly how it plays out, but that's one of the places I get really excited about Webflow.
There's unlimited options and paths when you're dealing with the web.
Yeah.
What Raymmar said could happen exactly as he explained. That is the exciting part, right? That's totally possible. We see a path to go do that. So yeah, really cool. A lot of potential here once Webflow starts increasing the features of e-commerce, logic, and what's the last one?
Memberships, yeah, subscriptions and stuff.
Memberships, yeah. Those three things, that's going to be gold altogether.
It goes back to the iPhone before the App Store. We're literally just playing with this cool toy that hasn't had the back end opened up yet for the App Store, for the plugins, for whatever. As soon as that comes in, which is essentially what Joe's talking about here, the ability to send data in and out more easily, more performant, that's going to be a game changer, not just for us, but for everybody, for the entire Webflow ecosystem, for the entire industry, for all of it. That's going to be a major game changer. Let's see, Darren. A big difference, introverts and extroverts, is how do you recharge? This is a good way to think of it. Do you recharge alone or with others? That's a great delineation there. Okay, let's see. Diego, yeah, awesome. This seems like such a big topic to discuss in the future. I promise you will hear a lot about this. If just stay tuned for the next few months, 6 months, year with us. We will talk about this topic a number of times in a number of different ways. I can assure you that. This is something that's super passionate for me, is the creator economy. You know, it's like Webflow is still technically savvy, you know, like you still have to learn technically, but imagine the potential if you could remove one more layer of technical complexity, which means us as visual software developers could build those front ends as a service for folks. And that becomes a whole industry that, again, doesn't exist yet. And I'm excited to see it be built over the next couple of years. So, yeah, good question, Diego. And I like that line of thinking.
And you can see this thing already happened in WordPress. WordPress builds a plugin marketplace, and somebody can essentially build a core part of your business that you install through the plugin. Like e-commerce, right? You install WooCommerce or you install one of these e-commerce platforms, and now you have a load of features available. So when that same thing happens to Webflow, we're going to be in the platform we love. We're going to have that full suite of features, and we get to maintain that beautiful design control that we talked about in the beginning of the episode. That's so important. So we don't want to lose that. And I think Webflow, since they're so design driven, they will not lose that. So big opportunity is coming.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we should start winding this down here. We'll have a goal of just being cleared off by the bottom of the hour here. So maybe just a couple more questions. Joe, do you want to take this one from Anthony Harrison?
Do you think it might be possible to build a learning management system like Moodle or Blackboard with Webflow after they introduce memberships? Right after they introduce memberships? No. In the future of memberships, I would say hopefully and likely. But when they first release it, I would say no. I wouldn't be waiting to go build that. That's something you could also build with Wiz. This idea of having a database somewhere. Learning management usually does not have to be SEO friendly because it's protected content. You don't want that showing up in SEO, in search results. So this would be a good candidate for an external server that is showing the content on Webflow.
Yeah. The other thing that for me is interesting to think about is because education's so heavy at Webflow, I wonder if they're looking to like dog food their own system, where maybe they might build a system that uses their own stuff to like use their Webflow University thing. So I don't know. I don't know if it's something that'd be a cool use case for them. Like if I was Webflow and I was about to release memberships in Logic and I had all this amazing educational content, one of the first things I would think about is like, hey, how do I wrap this in a LMS built in Webflow? So if I'm thinking that, I have to imagine somebody at Webflow is thinking that. What's the timeline for that? I don't know. Like Joe said, is that like immediately when they release memberships in Logic? Doubt it. Is it, a year after? Is it 6 months after? Is it 2 years after? I don't know. That's anybody's guess.
Okay. Do we keep going through questions here? What else do we have?
There are a couple. Let's see. Have you guys looked into making Web3 sites with Webflow?
No, we have not. We have not directly explored that. No.
We've talked a little bit about Web3 internally, but we've not spent any real resources trying to figure out how to do that. I think you'll see that if some of our next couple, like if we're successful with some of the stuff we're experimenting with, it may make more sense to look deeper into how to do some of that. But right now, I don't even know how that would work, to be honest. You kind of need to be able to do some of that other stuff where you can send the data back and forth more easily, cross sites, cross platform, et cetera, before that's like really viable, because you need to be easily able to like manage and sync databases and connect those to a blockchain somehow. And that doing that stuff and then sending it back into Webflow is really cumbersome at this moment. So I'm just not sure it's not that it's impossible. I just don't know that it's within, our purview to do right now. I'm sure there's somebody out in the community working on this though. And if you are, we'd love to hear from you. Literally send us a chat or message if this is something that is passionate for you. It would be interesting to link up. Joe, do you want to take this one?
Are you considering making your own Webflow Experts program? No, we're not making a Webflow Experts program. We're going to make a certified program. Effing certified, that's going to be essentially you purchasing a boot camp that gives you a certification at the end. And we're not saying that this is experts. This is everybody that went through that boot camp that has gotten the proper training to follow client first. So that's what we're looking at. And you'll hear a lot more about this over the next few months, because this is one of the offerings inside of Finsweet account.
Yeah. Pierre, Moodle already has an API though, so you can hook up with Webflow CMS and Moodle through Make or Zapier, just saying. So for the LMS question, that's a nice follow-up there.
How do you manage login? So getting the data there is one thing, but
still need some like Wiz or MemberStack or some kind of member space or something.
If your data lives in Webflow CMS, it cannot be protected. There's no way to protect the content when it's stored in Webflow CMS and it's served on the page. So even if it's hidden with JavaScript or displayed none, the content is still there. It's still accessible to somebody who knows how to get it. So yeah, you can put your Moodle inside Webflow CMS, but that means it is essentially available when somebody goes and turns off JavaScript, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's only part of the solution, and I don't think the right solution.
Yeah. I agree. Let's see. Joseph's asking, I'd like to hear about premium access to all pro courses. Do you have any of this content already set up? Yeah, there's a GTAG course that just went live, I think, available to pro members. And there's that JavaScript course, I think, that should be unlocking pretty soon. So yeah.
And GTAG for e-commerce. So all you people who want to be pioneers in the Webflow e-commerce, and when Webflow e-commerce grows, you grow with it, you got to check out this GTAG for e-commerce course. It's going to let you set up a much bigger level of product tracking. We show you all the different ways to track products in e-commerce. So yeah, that one should be live right now for all pro members.
Nice. Okay, let's see. Personal question: does coding make you happy?
Well, I don't code, so I can't answer that directly. But working and doing what we do at Finsweet does make me very happy. Yes.
Yeah. I agree. Tinkering and building and doing all this stuff gets me excited. Taking ideas from my head and making them real in the world gets me excited. So we are no coding. We are visually designing or developing software. But in that context, yeah, I do think that level of like technical complexity, solving problems, doing, that stuff is I think that's what drives a lot of us. Okay.
We'll answer this question.
Yep, go ahead.
This last question, Bobby Wilson, I've seen it a few times. Would there be any stumbling blocks to using Webflow output in Cordova? We have no idea about this. This is very, very separated from our services offering. I couldn't even start to answer that question, but thank you for being here and asking it.
Joseph Bates just signed up. Looking forward to it. Awesome. We will be sending out an email today or tomorrow letting y'all know about our first in-person hangout. So we're going to have our first and an FN Pro hangout. That'll be our first little state of the union for what we're doing with this community. So now's the time to get in. Once that lifetime stuff kind of locks down, we'll hopefully be full in the swing of this. And there's quite a few people already jumping into that. I think we're at like 80, almost to 80 for the paid tiers right now. So and growing fast. So this is going to become a big part of our offering. We're going to focus a lot of our work and attention at this pro stuff here. We do a lot already in the space, I think, for the community that will continue to live and float and do, what it does. But we're going to put a little attention on this pro tier next, and we'll see how that evolves. So Anyway, that's it for the show. This has been a great stream. Average view duration, lots of likes. Appreciate it. Let's see. If you're watching and are not subscribed, please subscribe. We appreciate that. And if you haven't liked the video, please do that as well. That helps YouTube send this in front of other folks. Joe, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, thank you. Great stream. I'm really glad that we got this so community driven. When you're writing in the comments, when you're engaging with us, you know, these talks just come out so great. So I had a great time here today.
Yeah, I agree. Little rocky with a little bit of, internet problems at the beginning, but that happens, and it's going to keep happening because it's the internet and life, and we'll keep showing up as long as y'all do. So we appreciate everyone for hanging out with us, and it's been real. We'll catch y'all next week. Bye.